From a routine traffic stop that explodes into violence when cops open fire on unarmed Navy SEAL Marcus Cole, to the media storm that twists the truth, the betrayal of his own brothers in uniform, and the fiery trial that exposes to America's, this emotional drama pulls readers into a world of systemic racism, survival, and resilience. Each chapter unfolds like a cinematic blow, the night of betrayal, the courtroom where lies clash with truth, the verdict that shakes a nation, the fallout that refuses to let Marcus rest, and finally the poetic justice when corrupt officers face downfall while Marcus stands scarred but unbroken. In the end, through the dust of war, both foreign and domestic, Marcus learns that survival itself is the loudest form of resistance. The night air smelled of rain, though the clouds hadn't broken yet. Marcus Cole gripped the steering wheel loosely, the hum of his old Chevy filling the silence. He had just left his mother's house on the south side, a ritual visit, Sunday night dinners she insisted on, no matter how busy he was. Behind him, sudden blue and red lights flared. Marcus sighed. Not again. He flicked on his signal, pulling smoothly onto the shoulder. His military training kept him calm, but his gut tightened. 2 officers approached, flashlights slicing the dark, hands on the wheel. One barked before Marcus could roll down the window. My hands are right here, Marcus said evenly, palms flat against the steering wheel. The taller cop leaned close, sneering. License and registration. Marcus nodded slowly. It's in my wallet, back pocket. The second officer smirked. Convenient place to keep a gun too. Marcus held his gaze. I don't carry weapons. Not anymore. Don't get smart, the first snapped. Step out of the vehicle. Marcus blinked. For what reason, officer? You resisting already, the taller one barked, hand hovering near his holster. I asked a question, Marcus replied, voice calm but edged with steel. The shorter officer circled toward the passenger side. His flashlight beam lingered on Marcus's skin more than his hands. You, local? He asked. Born and raised. Could have fooled me. Nice car for someone from this neighborhood. Marcus clenched his jaw. I worked for it. The taller officer chuckled. Worked, or took it. The words landed like spit. Marcus exhaled slowly, fighting the urge to snap back. Look, officers, I served this country. Navy SEAL, 20 years. I'm not your problem. The shorter cop laughed under his breath. SEAL, huh? Then you should know how to follow orders. Orders need to be lawful, Marcus said, the words slipping before he could stop them. The taller officer's hand finally rested on his weapon. Step out now. Marcus swallowed hard. He knew the statistics. He knew the headlines. All right, he said, moving deliberately. I'm going for the door handle. Slow. The shorter cop leaned in, whispering just loud enough. Bet he thinks his uniform makes him bulletproof. Marcus froze. He could feel it, the night tightening around him, a storm about to break. Door handle. Now, Marcus reached down, every muscle taut, his breath sharp. 2 safeties clicked off. His heart pounded. And then gun. He's got a gun. The taller cop screamed, but Marcus's hands were empty. Flashlights glared. Guns lifted. The world narrowed into a tunnel of sirens and steel. The first shot split the night. The first bullet shattered Marcus's side mirror, glass spraying like ice. He ducked instinctively, training taking over before thought could form. Shots fired. Shots fired. One officer yelled into his radio, though Marcus hadn't drawn a weapon. Stop shooting. I don't have a gun. Marcus's voice cut through the night, raw with disbelief. The answer came in more gunfire. Muzzle flashes lit the dark like fireworks. Bullets ripped into the Chevy's frame, metal shrieking. Marcus dropped low, rolling across the passenger seat. His heartbeat a war drum. His military reflexes screamed, cover, conceal, survive. He yanked the door handle and tumbled onto the pavement, scraping his elbow. Another round pinged off the asphalt inches from his head. Suspects armed and dangerous. The taller cop shouted, firing again. I'm not armed, Marcus bellowed back, fury rising in his chest. The shorter cop sneered, his voice cracking with adrenaline. Liar, he's reaching. Marcus's body screamed with pain. A bullet had grazed his left arm, hot blood soaking his sleeve. He crawled behind the rear tire, pressing himself flat. He should have stayed still, maybe played dead, but his mind replayed another scene. Fallujah alleyway, gunfire raining from rooftops. He hadn't survived that hell by freezing. Through the chaos, his training whispered, control the situation, don't panic. Precision saves lives. Marcus drew a deep breath and yelled, Drop your weapons. I'm unarmed. The response was another barrage, bullets chewing into his car. Rage burned through the fear. Fine. If they wanted a war, they'd meet a soldier. Marcus reached under his driver's seat, pulling free a small black pistol, not for offense, but protection, legal, registered, rarely touched. He had prayed he'd never need it. He racked the slide, clenched his teeth, and shouted, "Last warning, stand down." The taller officer laughed, wild, "You're dead, boy." The next muzzle flash sealed it. Marcus rolled out from cover, aimed low, and fired once, the round striking the officer's weapon hand. The gun clattered to the pavement with a cry of pain. He shot me. The shorter officer spun toward Marcus, spraying rounds without aim. Sparks flew as bullets ricocheted off metal. Marcus steadied his breathing, crouched, and squeezed another precise shot, striking the man's wrist. His gun dropped, skittering across the road. For the first time that night, silence fell. The two officers writhed on the ground, clutching their bleeding hands. Their radios crackled frantically with dispatchers screaming for updates. Marcus stood slowly, chest heaving, pistol still raised but steady. His voice thundered, "I told you, I didn't want this." Across the street, blinds cracked open. Neighbors peeked, cell phones glowing in shaky hands. A woman whispered, "Oh my God, they shot at him first." Her camera recorded everything: the shattered car, the wounded cops, Marcus's bloodied sleeve. "Units inbound." The dispatcher's voice squawked from one of the radios. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, growing louder. Marcus's head swam. He could flee. He could vanish into the night. His SEAL instincts told him how to disappear, how to survive. But another instinct held stronger. He was done running. He raised his voice toward the neighbors, toward the blinking eyes in the dark. "Keep recording. Don't stop." The taller officer groaned, spitting curses. "You're finished, Cole. You'll never see daylight again." Marcus steadied his weapon on him, voice like steel. "You tried to murder me. The world's gonna see who pulled the trigger first." Sirens wailed closer, flooding the street with light. Marcus lowered his weapon, letting it clatter to the pavement. His hands lifted, bloody but steady. More cruisers screeched to a halt, doors flying open, barrels trained on his chest. On the ground, now, Marcus locked eyes with the neighbors holding their phones. His voice carried above the chaos. "I am unarmed." I complied, and they shot first. He dropped to his knees, surrendering not to them, but to the storm he knew was coming. The chapter closed with one truth burning in his chest. Survival tonight didn't mean freedom tomorrow. Morning broke with headlines already screaming. Cable anchor by Kyanji. Armed suspect shoots 2 officers during routine stop. Black veteran attacks. Police community in shock. Spoke with grim tones, the same words circling like vultures. Armed, dangerous, aggressive. In the precinct holding cell, Marcus sat on a hard bench, blood crusted on his sleeve. The sting in his arm was nothing compared to the heat in his chest. He could hear the TV from the guard station outside his name. His face, his service record flashing on screen. Former Navy SEAL Marcus Cole, decorated but troubled. The anchor said, "Troubled," Marcus muttered, shaking his head. The officer on duty smirked through the bars. "They got you figured out already, hero." Marcus's eyes narrowed. Funny how they skipped the part where they opened fire first. The guard shrugged. "Malfunctioned body. What a shame." Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but cutting. "Convenient malfunction." The guard's grin spread. "Nobody cares what you say. Cops say you reached for a weapon. That's all it takes." Before Marcus could reply, shouts echoed from down the hall. "Hey, I got it on video." Someone yelled. It wasn't the cops. It was the world outside. By mid-morning, social media had exploded. Grainy cell phone footage spread across Twitter and TikTok. Marcus's car riddled with bullet holes. Officers firing first. Marcus's voice clear and furious. "I am unarmed." I complied. And they shot first. The narrative cracked in half. On one side, hashback to blue flooded feeds, calling him a thug, a liar, a criminal who ambushed officers. Memes mocked his military record, twisting his service into a joke. On the other side, veterans stitched their own videos, standing in uniform, saying, "That man served. He did what we'd all do, survived." Activists rallied online. "Justice for Marcus." His mother appeared on a local news broadcast, eyes swollen from crying but voice sharp. "My son is not a thug. He wore the uniform. He bled for this country. They tried to kill him, and now they want to bury him with lies." The clip went viral within hours. Inside his cell, Marcus kept still, his mind churning. A heavy-set cop strolled past his bars, snorting. Enjoying your 15 minutes, won't last long. Marcus looked up slowly. Truth doesn't fade. The cop leaned close. Truth doesn't matter. Power does. Silence stretched. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Later that afternoon, a lawyer came to see him. A young black woman, in a sharp gray suit. She slid into the seat across the plexiglass. Marcus Cole, he nodded. Dana Ruiz, Public Defender's Office. They'll assign me to your case unless you've got someone else. Marcus studied her eyes, steady, uncompromising. You believe me? She leaned in, voice low. I saw the footage. I believe the system's stacked against you, but belief isn't enough. We need strategy. Marcus exhaled, relief flickering for the first time. Then let's fight. Dana gave a tight smile. Brace yourself. They'll drag your name through the mud. Old records, financials, even your military service. They'll twist everything. But the videos, that's our shield. Marcus's fists clenched on the table. I shouldn't need a shield. I should have rights. Dana's eyes softened, but her words were hard. You do, but rights don't protect black men. Proof does. The guard banged on the glass. Time's up. Dana stood, smoothing her jacket. Hold on, Marcus. The storm is just starting, but storms don't last forever. As she walked away, Marcus closed his eyes. He could still hear the gunfire, smell the smoke, feel the heat of betrayal. But louder now was the world outside, millions of voices rising, some against him, some for him, and somewhere deep in his chest, a new thought began to form. This fight isn't just mine anymore. The holding cell smelled of bleach and sweat when the guard opened the door. You got a visitor, he grunted. Marcus stood slowly, expecting his mother, or maybe Dana again. But the man waiting in the visiting room wore a crisp Navy officer's uniform. Commander Briggs, Marcus said flatly, the title bitter on his tongue. Cole Briggs's jaw tightened as he sat across the table. His silver hair was sharp as his tone. You've put yourself in a damn storm. Marcus leaned back, folding his arms. I didn't put myself here. Your brothers in blue did. Briggs exhaled, avoiding his eyes. You fired on officers. I defended myself. Marcus shot back. They tried to kill me. For a long moment, silence crackled between them, broken only by the hum of fluorescent lights. Finally, Briggs said, I'm here off the record. Thought you deserved to hear it straight from me. Marcus's chest tightened. Go on. The Navy will issue a statement by morning. They'll distance themselves. You're no longer active duty, and they don't want association with Marcus's voice cut sharp. With this mess, Briggs said quietly. Marcus slammed his palm on the table, the sound echoing. A mess. I bled for this country. 20 years, brothers dead beside me, and when I get shot at in my own neighborhood, you call it a mess. Briggs's eyes flickered with something like guilt, but his voice stayed cold. Optics matter. Politics matter. The Navy doesn't pick sides in civilian conflicts. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low. Dangerous. Then don't call it brotherhood. Don't tell recruits we've got each other's backs, because the second the cameras turn, you vanish. Briggs's jaw worked, but no words came. You taught me loyalty, Marcus continued, his voice trembling with restrained rage. You drilled it into us. Never leave a man behind. But here I am, left behind. Briggs shifted uncomfortably. Cole, the Navy's hands are tied. My hands are tied. No, Marcus said, shaking his head. Your spine is tied. Briggs flinched as though struck. I came here hoping. Briggs started, then trailed off. Forget it. I just thought you should know where things stand. He stood, straightening his uniform. Marcus stayed seated, staring at the table. Tell the Navy I said thanks for nothing. Briggs paused, almost turning back, but instead, he walked out, the door clanging shut behind him. Marcus sat in the silence, every memory of combat brotherhood now tasting like ash. That night, back in his cell, his new bunkmate spoke up. The man was older, skin lined with years of hard living, eyes carrying storms. Marcus recognized. You military? The man asked softly. Marcus muttered. The man nodded knowingly. They cut you loose, didn't they? Marcus looked up. How'd you know? The old man chuckled. Bitter, 'cause that's what they do. Whole damn system runs on us until we break. Then it spits us out and says we were never there. Marcus studied him. You sound like you've seen it before. The man leaned back on his cot, sighing. I've seen it my whole life. Cops, courts, bosses, schools, doesn't matter if you wore a uniform or not. This system wasn't built for us to win. Marcus swallowed hard. The words landed heavier than bullets. You sound like you've given up, Marcus said. The old man's lips curled into a tired smile. Nah, I sound like I survived. Survival's not the same as winning, but it's what we've got. Marcus lay back on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Briggs's cold words replaying in his mind. Brotherhood, loyalty, empty promises, and beneath it all, a new fire SMOLDERED. If the Navy, the courts, and the cops all wanted him broken, then survival wasn't enough. He would have to fight for something bigger. By the time Marcus woke on Monday, the world outside had split in two. On one side of the courthouse, a crowd chanted his name, fists raised high. Justice for Marcus. Justice for Marcus. On the other side, counter-protesters waved flags, blue-striped banners whipping in the wind. Their chants collided like thunder. Back the blue. Lock him up. Between them, riot police formed a wall, shields gleaming in the morning sun. Inside the holding cell, Marcus heard it faintly, a roar that seeped through concrete. His lawyer Dana entered with urgency, her laptop under one arm. Marcus, it's chaos out there, she said, sliding onto the bench. You've become a symbol whether you like it or not. Marcus rubbed his temples. I didn't ask to be anyone's symbol. I just wanted to get home alive. Dana leaned forward, eyes sharp. But that's the point. The fact that surviving made you a symbol says everything. Before Marcus could reply, a guard called from the bars. Cole, bail hearings this afternoon. Don't get your hopes up, Dana muttered. Ignore him. She opened her laptop, showing Marcus the screen. Live footage, crowds shouting, people holding posters of his Navy photo. Others waved signs reading thug with a badge of honor, and no seal above the law. Public opinion matters, Dana said. It'll sway judges, juries, even prosecutors, and right now, you've got momentum. Marcus frowned. Momentum doesn't stop bullets. Dana's voice softened. No, but it might keep you alive long enough to fight back in court. The bail hearing was a circus. The prosecution argued Marcus was a flight risk and dangerous. They demanded bail be set at $2 million. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Dana rose, her voice cutting. My client is a decorated Navy SEAL veteran. He has roots in this community, a family, no history of fleeing. What's dangerous is a system that punishes survival. The judge, stone-faced, set bail at $1 million, practically unreachable. Marcus sat motionless, jaw clenched. From the back row, his mother's voice broke the silence. $1 million, for surviving being shot at. Whispers rippled across the room. The judge slammed his gavel. Order. Later that evening, outside the courthouse, Marcus's mother stepped up to a microphone, her hands shaking but her voice steady. Cameras swarmed. My son wore this country's uniform, she said, holding up a photo of Marcus in his navy blues. He fought for freedoms he wasn't allowed at home. He survived 2 wars overseas, and now this country wants to call him a criminal for surviving its war here. Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice never cracked. If he wasn't my son, if he wasn't black, would he be in chains today? The crowd erupted in cheers, chants of justice for Marcus, surging louder. News anchors replayed her speech on loop. In his cell that night, Marcus heard the echoes of her words through a guard's radio. For the first time in days, a small flame of hope flickered in his chest, but the backlash was immediate. On talk radio, callers spat venom. His mama's just playing the race card. On TV panels, pundits scoffed. Discipline issues follow men like Cole. The Navy saw it too. Inside his cell, Marcus paced, fury twisting in his gut. Dana visited again, setting down a folder thick with documents. They're digging, she said. Your service record, finances, even your high school fights. They'll smear everything they can. Marcus snorted bitterly. So, I gave 2 decades of my life, and now they'll use every second against me. That's how they play, Dana replied. But we've got something they don't. Truth. And the people who see it. Marcus sat heavily on the bench, staring at his bandaged arm. Feels like truth doesn't count anymore. Only spin. Dana leaned forward, her voice low and fierce. Truth only wins when people fight for it. And Marcus, they're fighting for you. Through the small cell window, he could see the faint glow of protest fires outside, torches of resistance lighting the night. The court of law hadn't heard his voice yet, but the court of public opinion, it had already delivered its verdict. The courtroom buzzed like a hornet's nest. Reporters packed every bench, Cameras perched outside the doors, protesters' chants faint through the thick walls. Marcus Cole sat at the defense table, suit borrowed, hands cuffed until the bailiff removed them. His jaw was set like stone. Dana Ruiz sat beside him, shuffling papers, her voice low. "Remember," she whispered, "don't react. They want to paint you as violent. Let me carry the fight until it's your turn." Marcus nodded once, eyes fixed forward. The prosecution opened with fire. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," the prosecutor began, pacing before them, "this is a simple case. Two police officers conducting a routine traffic stop. A man, armed, dangerous, escalates, resists, and shoots. Marcus Cole is not a hero. He's a threat." He pointed at Marcus, voice sharp. His military training didn't make him disciplined, it made him lethal. And that night, he used it against the very people sworn to protect us. Murmurs rippled through the room. Dana rose slowly, letting the silence build before she spoke. "My client is not on trial because he's dangerous. He's on trial because he survived." The prosecutor scoffed, but Dana pressed on, her voice steady. "You will see videos, not edited clips, not reports written after the fact. Videos. You will hear neighbors' voices, and you will see with your own eyes who fired first." She turned toward Marcus briefly, then back to the jury. "The truth is simple. Marcus Cole is alive because he defended himself, and for that, they want to bury him." The first witness was one of the officers, his hand bandaged from Marcus's bullet. He spoke with rehearsed precision. He reached down, quick. "I thought he was pulling a gun. I feared for my life." Dana rose for cross-examination. "Officer Daniels, did you find a gun in his hand when you fired?" "No, but did you see a gun?" I believed, yes or no. "Officer, no." The jury shifted uncomfortably. Dana pressed harder. "Your body cam footage from that night, where is it?" "Malfunctioned," he muttered. "Convenient. Yet the civilian videos all show you fired first." "Care to explain?" Daniels's jaw clenched. "Those videos don't capture everything." Dana leaned in, voice like a blade. "They capture enough. They capture you shooting at an unarmed man with his hands visible." The prosecution objected, but the judge allowed it. The second officer testified next, his wrist still in a brace. His story mirrored Daniels's. Dana again dismantled it. "Officer Hughes, did you file any reports of Marcus Cole threatening you with a weapon?" "No, but his behavior." "Did you find a weapon before you shot him?" Silence. Dana's eyes pinned him. "Or did you keep firing until after he defended himself?" He looked away. "I don't recall." Gasps whispered through the gallery. The prosecutor scrambled, calling character witnesses to paint Marcus as unstable, citing past bar fights and disciplinary actions in the Navy. Dana countered with witnesses of her own. Neighbors who recorded the incident, veterans who testified to Marcus's discipline, his mother speaking with raw emotion. "My son isn't unstable," she said on the stand, voice trembling. "He's alive because he refused to die quietly." Finally, it was Marcus's turn. The room stilled as he rose, walking slowly to the stand. He raised his hand, swore in, and sat. Dana gave him a nod. "Marcus," she began gently, "why were you out that night?" "Visiting my mother," he said simply. "What happened when the officers stopped you?" "They ordered me out. I kept my hands visible. I told them where my license was. They accused me of reaching. Then they fired." Dana leaned in. "Did you want to hurt them?" "No." His voice broke slightly. "I spent 20 years trying to protect people. That doesn't just switch off. I didn't want war that night, but war came to me." The jury hung on his words. The prosecutor rose for cross-examination, smirking. "Mr. Cole, you're a trained killer, are you not?" Marcus's eyes flashed. "I'm a trained protector." "You carry a firearm, correct, legally." "Never touched it until they left me no choice." The prosecutor sneered. "You expect us to believe two decorated officers opened fire on you, unprovoked?" Marcus leaned forward, voice low but resonant. "I don't expect you to believe me. I expect you to believe your own eyes. Watch the videos, hear the shots, count who fired first." Silence thundered through the courtroom. Dana whispered as Marcus stepped down. That landed hard. The trial stretched for days, each testimony carving deeper. Civilian witnesses testified to hearing officers scream gun before Marcus ever moved. Experts testified about racial bias in perceived threats. By the final day, the jury's faces carried the weight of two Americas, one where police were beyond reproach, one where Marcus's survival was a crime. Dana's closing words cut like steel. "This isn't just about Marcus Cole. This is about whether surviving being black in America is a punishable offense. If you convict him, you tell every black man that compliance means nothing. If you acquit, you tell the truth, that the badge doesn't make you God. She pointed at Marcus. He didn't want war, but war came to him. The question is, will justice come to him too? The jury filed out, tension so heavy the room could hardly breathe. Marcus sat at the table, staring at his bloodied memories. Whatever the verdict, he knew the truth. He had faced two Americas, and only one would walk out of this courtroom alive. The courtroom was silent. The jury filed back in, faces grim, unreadable. Marcus sat stiff, every muscle locked. Dana's hand rested lightly on his arm, but even her grip trembled. All rise, the bailiff barked. The judge looked at the jury foreperson. Has the jury reached a verdict? Yes, Your Honor. The foreperson held the slip of paper, voice shaking slightly as they read. In the case of the state versus Marcus Cole, we find the defendant. The pause dragged like a blade across flesh. The entire courtroom leaned forward, breath caught. Not guilty. Gasps exploded. Half the room erupted in applause, the other half in outrage. Reporters sprinted from the gallery, their phones already lit. Marcus didn't move. His chest heaved once, twice, before he bowed his head into his hands. Dana whispered, "You're free, Marcus, free." But freedom felt hollow. Across the room, the two officers glared, their faces red, their fists clenched. Daniels muttered under his breath, loud enough for Marcus to hear, "This ain't over." Security had to hold back angry officers as chants outside grew louder. "Justice for Marcus. Fire the cops." The walls shook with voices. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order, order in this court." But the order was gone. Outside the courthouse, chaos reigned. Protesters cheered, waving signs with Marcus's name. Counter-protesters screamed Blue Lives Matter. Fists clashed, flags waved, police in riot gear lined the steps. Marcus stepped into the sunlight, the crowd parting like water around him. Cameras surged forward. "Mr. Cole, how does it feel? Do you think this sets a precedent? Are you worried for your safety?" He didn't answer. He just walked, head high, though his insides twisted. Dana finally spoke for him. "Justice was served today. My client defended himself against unlawful violence. This verdict proves truth can survive lies." But even as she spoke, a bottle flew from the crowd, smashing near Marcus's feet. Police surged, shoving people back. Dana hissed, "Marcus, car." Now, that night, Marcus sat alone in his mother's kitchen. The house was dark, quiet, except for the hum of the fridge. His hands still shook from the weight of it all. His mother poured him tea, her voice soft. "You came back to me. That's enough." Marcus stared into the steam. "Am I free, though? Every time I step outside, they'll see me as the man who fought back. To them, I'm not a survivor. I'm a symbol. Symbols get targeted." His mother touched his hand. Symbols also change the world. Before he could reply, his phone buzzed. Dozens of messages, threats mixed with praise. One stood out, a text from an unknown number. "You should have stayed down. We're coming." Marcus's blood ran cold. The media storm only grew. News channels framed the verdict as a turning point. Some anchors praised the jury's courage. Others condemned the acquittal as a war on law enforcement. On social media, hashtags trended. Hashtag justice for Marcus. Hashtag to Americas. Hashtag Blue Lives Matter. Death threats flooded his inbox. Dana called him the next morning. "You need protection. Witness intimidation is real. These cops aren't done." Marcus's voice was flat. "I've lived my life being hunted. Protection won't change that." "Marcus, no." He cut her off. "I fought for this country. Now I fight to breathe in it. If they come, I won't run." Later that week, Marcus attended a small community gathering. Neighbors hugged him. Veterans saluted him. Children looked up at him with wide eyes. "You're a hero," one teenager said, his voice trembling. "You showed us we can fight back." Marcus shook his head. "Don't call me a hero. Heroes get statues. I just wanted to make it home alive." Yet as he looked at their faces, he realized Dana was right. He wasn't just Marcus anymore. He was a symbol. But symbols drew enemies. That night, as Marcus walked to his car, headlights flared across the street. A black SUV idled, windows tinted. It didn't move. Marcus froze, his training kicking in. He slid his hand toward his concealed carry. Muscles taut. The SUV rolled slowly forward, stopped, then sped away into the dark. Marcus exhaled, jaw clenched. The war wasn't over. The verdict was only the beginning. Back at home, he stood before the mirror. His reflection stared back, tired eyes, scarred soul. Not guilty, he whispered, but never innocent. He knew America had given him a verdict, but not peace. The fallout would chase him, hunt him, test him, and somewhere, deep inside, Marcus made a vow: if they want war, I'll show them what survival looks like. Weeks passed, but the storm refused to settle. The officers who shot at Marcus strutted back to work, badges gleaming, their supporters crowing about warriors under fire. Yet cracks began to show. Civilian watchdog groups released new footage, unedited, uncut. The world saw it clearly. Marcus with his hands visible, calm, steady, the officers shouting, "Gun!" before firing without hesitation. The muzzle flashes lit up the night, theirs, not his. Cable news couldn't bury it. Social media lit like wildfire. They tried to kill him. They lied under oath. How many others never had cameras watching? The department scrambled. The chief held press conferences, spinning excuses. But each lie was devoured by truth. Marcus watched it all from his mother's living room, TV flickering against his tired face. Dana sat beside him, papers in hand. "They're being investigated now," she said. "Federal charges, perjury, excessive force, attempted murder. Karma's finally catching up." Marcus gave a hollow laugh. "Karma, or just politics? Call it what you want," Dana replied, her voice sharp. "But the same system that tried to bury you is choking on its own lies." A week later, the officers were arrested on federal indictments. Daniels and Hughes, once untouchable, now stood in handcuffs, faces pale under courthouse lights. The footage looped behind news anchors, the shots, the lies, the cover-up. One anchor's voice carried more weight than any verdict. America must ask itself, if Marcus Cole hadn't been a Navy SEAL, if neighbors hadn't recorded, would he be alive to clear his name today? The question cut deeper than any gavel. Outside the courthouse, crowds gathered again, but this time, the chants were different. Accountability now. Justice for Marcus. No more Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, hoodie pulled low, watching silently. For the first time, the target wasn't him. The target was them. Dana found him there. "You don't need to hide," she told him. "I'm not hiding," Marcus said softly. "I'm watching." Watching the same fire they lit finally burn them down. The trial of Daniels and Hughes was swift, brutal. Their own department turned against them. Emails leaked, racist jokes, threats, reports doctored to justify violence. Their credibility collapsed in real time. On the stand, Hughes broke down. "We thought he'd be just another statistic. We didn't think he'd fight back." The jury recoiled. The country listened. The truth was undeniable. The verdict this time came faster. Guilty. Both officers, every charge. The poetic twist was cruelly fitting. They were led away in cuffs, the same way they once dragged others. Marcus didn't celebrate. He sat quietly on his porch that evening, listening to cicadas sing in the dusk. His mother stepped outside, setting down 2 mugs of tea. "They fell," she said simply. Marcus nodded. "But how many still stand? How many Daniels and Hughes are out there, waiting?" She touched his shoulder. "You can't carry the whole world, son. But you carried your truth. That matters." He stared at the horizon, voice low. "My truth almost killed me, but it also saved you," she whispered. Later that night, Dana called. "Marcus, I just got word. Congress is holding hearings on police accountability. They're citing your case as the spark." Marcus closed his eyes. His case was becoming a headline, a bill, a talking point, but he wasn't sure he wanted to be remembered as a case. "Let them talk," he said finally, "but don't forget the ones who never got a trial, the ones who never came home." His voice cracked. "Don't let me become just a story." Months later, Marcus stood at a memorial in the city square. Candles lined the pavement. Names etched into stone, men and women who hadn't survived encounters like his. Strangers came up to him quietly, shaking his hand, thanking him, crying. A young boy clutched his arm. "You made it, so I know I can too." The boy whispered. Marcus knelt. "I love. Listen to me, kid. Survival isn't about being strong. It's about being seen. Make them see you. Never let them turn you invisible." The boy nodded, eyes shining. Marcus stood again, the weight in his chest both crushing and light. That night, Marcus walked alone down a quiet street. For once, no shadows followed, no headlights stalked. The city was noisy with life, but around him, there was silence. He whispered into it, words carried by the night. "I'm still here. You tried to kill me. You lied to bury me, but I'm still here." His fists unclenched, palms open to the sky, and I'll keep standing. For me, for them, for all of us. The cicadas hummed louder, the night holding him in its arms. Poetic justice had been served, not by courts alone, not by headlines, but by survival itself, because Marcus Cole was alive, and that, more than any verdict, was the justice they never expected. The world moved on, as it always did. The headlines faded, the trials ended, the protests quieted, though never disappeared. A new story, a new outrage, replaced Marcus's face on the evening news. But Marcus still carried it. He walked the streets of his city like a ghost, alive, breathing, yet forever marked. Strangers nodded at him. Some whispered his name like a prayer, others spat it like a curse. He had become both symbol and shadow, saint and threat. One afternoon, he returned to the corner where it all began. The traffic lights still blinked red, the asphalt still bore faint stains, rain, oil, dust. No one else noticed, but Marcus saw it all. He stood there, in silence, the echo of gunshots still ringing in his mind. They tried to erase me here, he whispered, but I'm still standing. That evening, he sat on his porch, notebook open in his lap. For years, he had written nothing. The Navy had drilled words out of him, leaving only discipline and silence. But tonight, the pen moved. I am not just the man they shot at. I am not just the man who fired back. I am what survives when survival is not supposed to happen. The ink bled onto the page, shaky at first, then steady. They told me I was dangerous. They told the world I was guilty. But I know this. My existence is my resistance. Every breath I take is proof they failed. He closed the notebook, exhaling like he'd been holding his breath for years. The world, still, called his case a turning point. Politicians used his name in speeches. Activists carried his story on banners. Police unions cursed it in meetings. Marcus knew better. He wasn't a turning point. He was a mirror, a reflection of America's split soul. And in that mirror, he saw himself scarred, weary, but alive. One night, he dreamed of the desert where he had once served. The sand blew across his boots, the horizon endless. In the dream, the gunfire wasn't from police, but from enemies overseas. And yet the feeling was the same, hunted, judged, unwanted. He woke with a start, sweat on his skin, the sound of cicadas outside. His mother's voice drifted from the kitchen. You're safe, Marcus. Safe. The word felt foreign. Was he safe? Or was he just awake? Weeks later, he attended a small veterans circle. Men and women sat in folding chairs, scars visible and invisible. Marcus spoke quietly, almost reluctantly. They tried to kill me at home, he said. Not in war, not on foreign soil. Here, a traffic stop. The room was silent, heads bowed. A woman with a prosthetic leg whispered, they tried to kill us twice. Once out there, once, when we come back. Marcus felt the words burn into him. He nodded. But I'm still here. And so are you. That's something they can't erase. For the first time, he saw his survival not as a curse, but as connection. As autumn came, Marcus returned to the memorial wall downtown. The candles were gone, but the names remained. He traced his finger over cold stone, whispering each name under his breath. They didn't make it. I did. He knelt, pressing his forehead to the stone, dust staining his skin. The reflection of his face in the polished surface looked back at him, weary eyes, steady jaw, a man both broken and unbroken. And in that reflection, he finally understood. He wasn't just a survivor of a single night. He was the dust that refused to blow away, the scar that refused to fade, the story that refused to end. As he stood, a young girl approached, her hand clutching a candle. Are you Marcus Cole? She asked softly. He hesitated, then nodded. My dad. He didn't come home, but you did. Thank you for fighting. Marcus crouched down, meeting her gaze. I didn't fight to be thanked. I fought to live. And you, he touched her candle gently. You're the reason I keep living. Her eyes widened, and she smiled faintly before running back to her mother. Marcus watched her go, a weight lifting from his chest. He whispered into the fading light. Maybe that's the justice. Not the verdict, not the headlines, but the fact that I can still stand here, that I can still be seen. The wind stirred, dust rising around him, glowing in the sunset. Marcus Cole stood there, reflected in the dust, a man scarred by war, both foreign and domestic, yet unbroken. And in that fragile, fleeting light, he knew this. Poetic justice wasn't only in their downfall, it was in his survival.